Most people think their 20s are the launch pad to a bigger life, but for most, it's actually the peak. They stop growing, stop pushing, and spend the rest of their lives replaying old memories instead of creating new ones. The question is, are you building your future back, or are you secretly stuck in your past? The truth about why so many people never grow beyond their 20s is because they fall in love with comfort too early. In the beginning, discomfort feels like a natural part of life. You push through school, you hustle for a job, you make mistakes, you try again. But once a stable paycheck starts coming in, and once there's enough money to pay the bills, people start mistaking stability for success. They believe they've made it, when really they've only reached the baseline. Comfort becomes addictive because it feels like safety, but safety often masks stagnation. Growth, on the other hand, requires leaning into discomfort, doing things that scare you and risking failure again and again. Get that without discomfort, life becomes a repetition of yesterday. And when every day looks like yesterday, years pass by unnoticed. By the time people realize it, their 20s have faded and their potential is gone with it. Comfort is sneaky because it disguises itself as happiness. People convince themselves that if they're not struggling, then they must be doing well. They forget that the most meaningful parts of life are not found in ease, but in overcoming difficulty. Growth is always inconvenient. It demands sacrifice, discipline, and delayed gratification. But when comfort sets in, the drive to pursue these things weakens. You trade the excitement of chasing your potential for the dull relief of avoiding challenges. That's why so many people stop setting goals after their 20s. They've learned to prioritize predictability over possibility. Yet the irony is predictability without progress becomes suffocating. The longer you stay comfortable, the more restless you feel inside, because deep down you know you're capable of more. But the fear of leaving that comfort zone grows stronger each year you stay inside it. It's easy to believe that comfort is the reward for your early efforts. You worked hard in your teens, you studied, you hustled, so now you deserve to relax. And while rest has its place, the trap is believing that rest is the new way of life. Rest is meant to recharge you for the next challenge, not replace the challenge entirely. When people stop chasing new levels, they shrink. They plateau mentally, emotionally, and professionally. Their conversations stay the same, their routines stay the same, and their mindset freezes at the age they stop pushing. I try myself to take it back. This is why so many people in their 40s or 50s talk about their glory days in their 20s. They stopped evolving after that period, and life turned into a slow replay of old memories. Comfort made them believe the best days were behind them, when in reality, they could have been ahead. Growth requires friction. Just like muscles only grow when they're torn and rebuilt, your mind and character only expand when they're tested. Yet people avoid the friction of failure, rejection, and uncertainty because it feels uncomfortable. They want the results of growth without the pain of change. But here's the reality. If you're not putting yourself in situations that make you uncomfortable, you're not growing. You're just rehearsing what you already know. The moment you stop seeking growth, you start settling, and settling is the quiet killer of potential. That's why comfort feels good in the moment, but devastating in hindsight. 10 years of avoiding discomfort leaves you wondering where the time went and why you still feel unfulfilled despite doing everything right. The reason most people get stuck is because they don't realize comfort is a choice. They believe their routine is fixed, that their job, their income, and their life path are permanent. But growth has always been optional. It doesn't force itself on you. You have to pursue it. The problem is, pursuit means risk, and risk feels unsafe once you've tasted stability. That's why so many never leave the safety of their 20s habits. They think the next level requires too much effort, too much sacrifice, or too much uncertainty. But the truth is the cost of staying the same is far greater than the cost of change. Comfort robs you quietly while convincing you that everything is fine. And by the time you realize it, years have passed that you'll never get back. The path beyond your 20s is supposed to be harder, not easier. Each stage of life is meant to stretch you further, not allow you to coast. But when people cling the comfort they discovered in their 20s, they avoid the stretch. They dodge the risks that build resilience. They decline opportunities that require growth. And they say no to experiences that challenge them. They protect their comfort like it's treasure, when in reality it's a trap. The longer you guard your comfort, the more it cages you in. And eventually, it turns into regret. Regret is nothing more than the memory of comfort that could have been traded for progress. And once regret sets in, it's hard to shake because it reminds you of the years wasted. Discomfort, on the other hand, is always a teacher. Every time you walk into a room where you feel underqualified, every time you take a chance on something uncertain, every time you choose growth over ease, you unlock a new version of yourself. Discomfort shows you what you're capable of, and it expands your definition of possible. But when you avoid discomfort, your definition of possible shrinks. Take it back. Your identity gets stuck on who you were in your 20s instead of who you could become. And that's the tragedy of comfort. It convinces people that staying the same is winning back, when in reality, it's slowly killing their potential. Growth is painful, but it's the only way to keep life from becoming a repeat of your past. The danger of settling into comfort is that it doesn't feel dangerous in the moment. It feels calm, predictable, and secure. That's why people rarely notice they're stuck until years later. That they wake up one day and realize they're living the same year on repeat, mistaking longevity for progress. Growth is not automatic. It demands consistent discomfort. And if you don't choose it, back. Life will eventually force discomfort on you through setbacks, regrets, or missed opportunities. The question is whether you'll face discomfort by choice while you still have time, back, or by consequence when it's too late to change the outcome. Most people treat education as something that ends the moment they graduate. They walk across the stage, receive their diploma, back, and assume they've completed the hard part. But what they don't realize is that the real classroom begins the moment formal schooling ends. Life has lessons that no textbook will ever cover, back, yet most stop showing up to learn. They leave curiosity behind with their caps and gowns as though knowledge has an expiration date. Without new learning, the mind becomes stagnant, back repeating the same thoughts year after year. This stagnation makes progress impossible because the world evolves constantly. While industries shift, technologies advance, and opportunities expand, back, those who stop learning are left behind. What once felt like progress soon becomes irrelevance. The danger of stopping learning is not obvious at first. In your 20s, the skills you gained from school and your first jobs can carry you for a while. You feel competent enough, capable enough, maybe even successful enough. But as time passes, back, those early skills lose value because the world does not pause for anyone. New trends replace old ones, new demands require fresh skills, and new challenges demand fresh thinking. Take it back. If you haven't trained your mind to keep growing, you'll quickly discover your toolkit is outdated. That's when people feel stuck, not because they're incapable, but because they refuse to keep learning. Back. Growth is optional, but so is irrelevance, and the choice is made every day you stop feeding your mind. Curiosity is the fuel that drives progress, yet most abandon it too soon. Children ask endless questions. Teenagers explore endless ideas, but adults often stop questioning altogether. They mistake knowing enough for knowing it all. But the truth is, it back. The moment you believe you've learned enough is the moment you stop growing. The best opportunities in life are reserved for those willing to remain students forever. Curiosity leads to discovery. Back. Discovery leads to innovation, and innovation opens doors others don't even see. Without curiosity, the door stays shut and you remain in the same room you've always been in. Back. Staying a student of life is not weakness. It is the strength that separates those who grow from those who stall. The habit of learning after school is not natural. It must be chosen. Take it back. It requires you to read books when you could watch television, to seek mentors when you could stay in your comfort zone, to practice new skills when you could recycle old ones. Back, most avoid this work because it doesn't bring instant rewards. Reading a book doesn't give you a promotion tomorrow. Taking a course doesn't change your life overnight. But over time, these small acts compound, shaping your mindset, sharpening your skills, and expanding your capacity. Meanwhile, those who avoid learning don't stay the same, they decline. Just like muscles weaken when not exercised, back, the mind dulls when not challenged. What you don't use, you eventually lose. Another reason people stop learning is because they confuse experience with growth. They think that simply living life will teach them everything they need to know. But experience without reflection is just repetition. You can live the same year 10 times and call it a decade, yet nothing changes if you never learn from it. Real learning requires intentional effort. It demands that you pause, analyze, and seek out new information to apply. Experience gives you raw material, but education refines into wisdom. Without that refinement, experience is wasted. Many adults assume years equal wisdom, but wisdom only comes to those who continue studying, questioning, and expanding what they know. The fear of looking inexperienced also keeps people from learning. In their 20s, asking questions feels acceptable. But as they grow older, people feel embarrassed to admit they don't know something. They let pride block progress. They'd rather pretend to be knowledgeable than start as a beginner again. But every master was once a student, and every expert began with ignorance. Refusing to learn out of pride is the fastest way to stay stuck. Humility is the gateway to growth. It allows you to admit gaps, seek guidance, and start fresh. Those unwilling to embrace humility end up clinging to outdated knowledge, hoping it will carry them through a world that has already moved on. The cost of not learning extends far beyond careers. It impacts relationships, health, and overall fulfillment. When you stop learning, you also stop growing emotionally. You repeat the same arguments, hold on to the same insecurities back, and make the same mistakes in relationships. Without growth, your emotional intelligence stalls, and so does your ability to connect with others deeply. The same applies to health. When you stop seeking knowledge about how to take care of your body, you fall into habits that harm you long term. Growth in every area requires continuous education. Take it back. Not once in a lifetime school, and the moment you stop learning is the moment decline begins, whether you notice it or not. Those who thrive into their 30s, 40s, and beyond are the ones who make learning a lifestyle. They treat every book, every podcast, every conversation, and every failure as an opportunity to grow. They understand that knowledge compounds just like interest in a bank account. What feels small today becomes powerful tomorrow. The difference between those who stay stuck in their 20s and those who keep rising is not talent. It's their willingness to keep feeding their minds back. The world doesn't still, and neither should you. If you want to keep pace with opportunity, learning cannot be seasonal. It must be daily. Staying a student means choosing curiosity over complacency. Back. It means reminding yourself that no matter how much you know, there is always more to uncover. It means resisting the temptation to believe that one degree, one job, or one level of success is enough. Back. The people who keep growing beyond their 20s are not necessarily the smartest, but they are the most committed to staying open. They know that their future depends on their ability to adapt. Back. And adaptation comes from learning. Choosing not to learn is choosing to stay stuck at the level you are while the rest of the world moves forward without you. In their 20s, back, many people confuse the appearance of success with the reality of it. They work tirelessly to showcase a life that looks impressive on the outside while neglecting the inner work that creates lasting fulfillment. Back. Social media becomes the stage and validation becomes the applause they're chasing. They spend money on things that shine but add no value, hoping others will admire what they've built. But growth cannot be fueled by perception alone. It requires purpose. When energy is directed toward approval, identity becomes fragile because it depends on what others think. Every opinion feels like a verdict. Back, and every judgment feels like truth. Instead of building a life rooted in meaning, they construct one rooted in performance. That performance eventually becomes exhausting, leaving them drained but still unfulfilled. Back. The desire for approval is powerful because it feels like progress. Compliments feel like success, likes feel like impact, and attention feels like validation. But these are illusions. They don't build real strength, skills, or character. Approval is fleeting because people's opinions shift with trends, moods, and convenience. If your growth depends on applause, you'll stop moving forward the moment it disappears. Purpose, it back, on the other hand, is stable. It doesn't depend on being liked or noticed. It depends on living in alignment with what truly matters to you. Yet many never make the shift from approval to purpose. They stay trapped in the cycle of chasing recognition, unaware that it's keeping them stuck at the same level. Chasing approval limits risk-taking. Back, when people are more concerned with looking successful than becoming successful, they avoid failure at all costs. They won't try something new if it risks looking foolish. Back, they won't speak up with new ideas if it risks being criticized. They won't step outside the norm if it risks standing alone. This fear keeps them small, repeating safe actions that earn predictable approval, but no true growth. Purpose-driven people, however, embrace risk because they aren't trying to please everyone. They're trying to fulfill their mission. Back. The difference between approval and purpose is freedom. One chains you to expectations, the other liberates you to chase your full potential. Many don't realize how approval hijacks their decisions. From the clothes they wear to the careers they choose, external validation often drives the choice more than internal conviction. Some pick careers not because they love the work, but because the title sounds impressive. Back. Some pursue relationships not because they're deeply aligned, but because the partner looks good to others. Every decision becomes a performance, and every performance becomes a cage. It back. The more they build based on appearances, the harder it becomes to leave, because tearing it down feels like admitting failure. Back. But it's not failure to walk away from a false identity. It's the first step toward growth. The trap of approval is reinforced by comparison. In their 20s, many measure their lives against peers, constantly asking, am I doing as well as they are? Comparison breeds insecurity because no matter how much you achieve, someone else will always have more. A better car, a better house, a better job, a better story to post online. Back. Chasing approval in this environment is endless because there is no finish line. Purpose ends comparison because it shifts the focus inward. Instead of asking, how do I look compared to them? The question becomes, back. Am I aligned with what I value? Growth comes from that shift because purpose is measured by progress, not popularity. The reason many never grow past their 20s is because they never learn to detach from applause. In their early years, being admired feels like proof of success, but admiration is temporary. It disappears as soon as attention shifts elsewhere. If your identity is built on being admired, you'll crumble when people stop watching. That's why purpose is non-negotiable for growth. Purpose gives you the strength to keep moving even when no one notices. It gives you the resilience to keep working even when no one applauds. It gives you the clarity to keep building even when others doubt. Without it, you'll spend your life performing instead of progressing. Chasing approval also leads to emptiness because it's never truly satisfying. No matter how many people approve of you, there's always an inner voice asking, but what do I think of myself? Approval from others cannot fill the void of disapproval from within. If you don't respect your own path, no amount of recognition will make you feel whole. That's why so many people feel restless despite achieving the appearance of success. They chase recognition instead of meaning. True fulfillment comes from alignment when your actions reflect your deepest values. Without that alignment, life feels hollow no matter how bright it looks on the outside. Living for purpose requires courage because it often means disappointing people. But it means saying no when others expect you to say yes. It means choosing a path that others might not understand. It means standing alone when approval is withheld. But this courage is the foundation of growth. Because only when you stop seeking to please everyone can you start pursuing what truly matters. Growth is uncomfortable, but it's far less painful than living a life scripted by others' expectations. Purpose doesn't guarantee applause, but it guarantees progress, and progress is the truest measure of growth. The shift from approval to purpose doesn't happen overnight. It requires a constant audit of your decisions and a willingness to ask, am I doing this for me or for them? Every time you choose authenticity over applause, you strengthen your sense of purpose. Over time, this becomes momentum, and momentum builds growth. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to silence external noise and trust your inner direction. That's when life starts to expand beyond the limitations of your 20s. Because growth isn't about how many people are clapping for you. It's about how many steps you're taking toward the person you're meant to become. One of the biggest reasons people never grow past their 20s is because they avoid having the hard conversations with themselves. They fill their days with activity, noise, and distraction. Anything to keep from sitting alone with their own thoughts. They rarely pause long enough to ask, am I truly happy with the direction I'm going? Instead, they convince themselves that business is the same as progress. But deep inside, there's a voice that knows when you're not aligned. Ignoring that voice may feel easier in the moment, but it creates a slow dissatisfaction that lingers. Growth requires self-reflection, and reflection often brings discomfort. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather hide from. And without those conversations, you stay stuck at the level you've always been. The fear of facing yourself is powerful because it requires honesty. It requires you to admit when you're not living up to your potential, when you're making choices out of fear, or when you're settling for less than you want. Most people would rather avoid the honesty than risk the pain of admitting they've been holding themselves back. But denial doesn't erase reality. It only delays the reckoning. Every year you avoid asking hard questions is another year you lose to autopilot. You may convince others you're fine, but you can't lie to yourself forever. Eventually, the gap between who you are and who you could be becomes too wide to ignore. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to bridge. People avoid these internal conversations because they know they will demand change. It's easier to stay the same than admit change is necessary. If you admit you're unhappy in your job, it might mean finding a new one. If you admit your relationships are unfulfilling, it might mean walking away. If you admit your habits are destructive, it might mean building new ones. Change is uncomfortable, but it's the only path to growth. Avoidance may feel safe, but it silently robs you of your potential. By refusing to confront yourself, you guarantee that the same problems will follow you year after year. Growth is not found in hiding, it's found in facing the truth and taking responsibility. Another reason people never grow past their 20s because they mistake distraction for escape. They bury themselves in parties, entertainment, or endless scrolling, hoping it will silence the inner dissatisfaction. But no amount of distraction erases the need for self-examination. The discomfort doesn't go away. It just hides temporarily, waiting for the silence to return. When you finally put the phone down or the noise fades, the voice inside returns louder than before. Growth doesn't happen in distraction. It happens in stillness. It happens in those quiet moments where you allow yourself to listen and to question. Because most people fear what they might hear. They never allow those moments to come. The avoidance of self-reflection also shows up in how people handle failure. Instead of asking, what did I do wrong? And what can I learn? They blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck. They deflect responsibility because responsibility feels heavy. But in doing so, they also deflect growth. Every mistake carries a lesson back, but the lesson is only revealed when you're willing to face yourself honestly. The refusal to look inward ensures you repeat the same mistakes again and again back. This is why some people live 1 year 30 times instead of living 30 different years. Without introspection, every failure becomes wasted instead of transformed into wisdom. Back. Self-conversation is not just about asking tough questions. It's about listening deeply. It's about noticing when your actions don't align with your values, when your habits don't serve your future. Back. And when your choices are dictated by fear instead of purpose. Most people ignore these signals because acknowledging them requires action. Back. But ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. It only makes them louder over time. When your life feels unbalanced, your inner voice will keep reminding you. The sooner you listen, the sooner you can realign. That growth is a direct result of listening to yourself and making changes accordingly. Those who avoid listening remain trapped in the same cycles for decades. Back. The irony is that the hard conversations people avoid are often the exact conversations that could set them free. Asking yourself, am I where I want to be might feel scary, but it's the first step to change. Admitting I've been playing small might feel painful, but it ignites the drive to expand. Recognizing I'm not proud of how I've been living may sting, but it creates the urgency to transform. Without these realizations, life drifts aimlessly. With them, life gains direction. Growth doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. Back. And honesty only comes when you stop running from yourself long enough to hear the truth. Those who break free from this trap are the ones who courageously sit with themselves even when it's uncomfortable. Back. They choose silence over noise, reflection over distraction, and truth over denial. They ask hard questions and refuse to settle for easy answers. They understand that growth is born from awareness, and awareness is born from reflection. Every breakthrough begins with honesty, and every step forward begins with clarity. Back. The people who grow beyond their 20s are not the ones who avoided discomfort. They're the ones who embraced it. They looked in the mirror, admitted what wasn't working, and had the courage to change. Back. The lesson is simple, but not easy. If you want to grow beyond your 20s, you must be willing to face yourself. You must create the time and space for reflection, even when it feels uncomfortable. Back. You must be willing to admit truths you'd rather ignore, and you must take responsibility for changing what you find. Avoidance only guarantees regret. Reflection, though painful, guarantees growth. Back. The choice is yours to keep distracting yourself and stay the same, or to confront yourself and become more. Growth will never come to those who hide from themselves. It only comes to those willing to face the truth and act on it.